Okay, here we go. This is from where I was going to be deployed to Iraq, where it says, actually, I'm sorry, this is the wrong one. There's one that says, that mentions MacArthur, me being a MacArthur man, but this one simply just says Beckley. So we'll ignore that for now. Now, this other one you're all familiar with. This was the appeal before Judge Hutchison. Found guilty of 2 counts of criminal innocent minor, 1 count of battery on a police officer, because yes, I did beat the crap out of Greg Duckworth. He's never quite forgiven me, and he hates it every time I remind him, so I remind him a lot. And here where it says, I was found not guilty of 1 count of contributing to delinquency of a minor. Now, this is very important because we're going to have to go back to this, okay? What we're going to do for right now is we're going to look at something. This was the original warrant, the very first warrant for my arrest I've ever had on me. P.O. Box 597, MacArthur, West Virginia. Keep in mind, MacArthur. This is the whole thing, talking about the victim, Leah Dunkirk. This is Leah's warrant, Trooper Duckworth. This was done about February of 2006, and it really doesn't matter. Now, what's important is this right here. This is the warrant for Ashley Redden, in which case, again, MacArthur man. There's the case number, and again, Gregory Duckworth, signature. When we get down to the actual issue of arguing with this, now there's a really important thing to mention. If you look at this, he says November 12th. When you look on this other one here, it says November 12th. When you get down to the actual thing that's here for Leah Kirk, it says October 12th. When we get over here for he also says that went to the home of Ashley Redden at Scott Ridge Road. But the previous warrant refers to it as her friend's house, Leah Kirk, on Scott Ridge Road. So it plays an interesting interesting little thing. And then there's this whole mention of alcohol and pills and everything else was mentioned this. Now, it gets really interesting as well, because then we go talking about how he spoke to Ashley April 10th, 2006. Thursday, got a call from her mother alleging some sort of stalking charge for April 20th. And then right along later on, that same April 20th, 30 minutes later, he gets called by FBI agent Mike Yancik. Now, this is the FBI agent who does not exist, from the Beckley field office, who said that I was going to kill Trooper Duckworth, that I wanted to file a complaint against him. Now, that's interesting in and of itself, because now we're talking about a police officer who's trained in investigation. He's supposed to be a professional, but he doesn't know the difference between October and November, doesn't know who lives on what road, seems a little bit flustered, could be a little bit scared of what I told him about what Ashley had told me, and it sounds really bad with pills and alcohol being involved, and like I should have been charged with something other than simply delinquency to a minor. But bear in mind, while we're all thinking that sounds horrible and I'm such a bad person, remember, one of those counts of delinquency was removed. I was found not guilty. See, right there. So we have to ask, why? Now, when we go looking at the present little thing for all this, what we find is the criminal complaint by Trooper Moore. There's his name, signature, and everything else. Oh, and let me show you all this. The sugar pack is covering up the security number. When we get up here, it's P.O. Box 597, MacArthur. I'm a MacArthur man. They mentioned that there's this whole thing about alcohol, and they mentioned I attempted to rape her and alcohol, and was convicted of contributing to delinquency of a minor, but they don't mention the fact that one of those convictions was removed. So it kind of comes into question about what else going on. There's a mention of things starting on January 2010, and there's this whole mention of text messages. Now, those text messages mention New Year's, but nothing starts off until January 26, 2010. Bear with me, because this isn't meant to be concrete evidence. This is just meant to point out an applicable fact that anyone with common sense is going to need to know to deal with this. Now, I'm from MacArthur. Ashley Redden is claiming that while she was at work at the Walmart in MacArthur, which is across from the post office in MacArthur where I get my mail, and yes, she does state she worked at Walmart in MacArthur, West Virginia. Now, I have a question for all of you females out there. Which one of you is going to work in a place that you know is going to be frequented by a guy who attempted to rape you, allegedly? Please, someone. Anyone. And then this here it is, following the same codes, go back to simply that whole affair. And then, well, questions do arise. Now, here we have this whole issue with Trooper Moore. Bear in mind, I'm from MacArthur. She got a job in MacArthur. Seems odd and strange and stalkerish. But wait, there's more. What we get into is this. Here's a screenshot. Big whammy. This is a screenshot of Ashley Redden's Facebook. I got this from Jessica Lilly, and it says housekeeper at Quality Inn. Quality Inn is on Harper Road. There is not one in Beaver or Grandview or anywhere else. You can Google it and find it, and there's only one on Beckley. It's attached to a bar called Morgan's where my best friend's aunt used to work. And it shows right here that Ashley Redden is from Grandview, West Virginia. So why go all the way to MacArthur, to the place where you know the guy who tried to rape you gets his mail and work in the store he constantly frequents, and then turn around and when you find out he's living in Harper Heights, get a job on Harper Road, when you find out that he's, you know, occasionally at Morgan's because his best friend's aunt works there, you get a job at the hotel attached right next to it if you're not stalking him. Now, here's something to bear in mind, because this gets really interesting. This is from Christine Keller, the prosecutor of Raleigh County. The court date was scheduled for October 26, 2011. This is the same day that we were supposed to go to court when the second search warrant was filed. Ironically, came up before Mingo Winters. And so on October 26, 2011, we had to cancel court. It was actually filed October the 11th down here by Christine Keller because Trooper Moore had a doctor's appointment he could not break. And this gets even better. The same numbers. Actually, this includes the additional ones. But what we get into is that a certificate of service from my attorney, Mingo Winters, for motion to suppress evidence. Now, why we want to suppress the text messages when the text messages point towards New Year's and there's a 26-day gap, I don't know, except we've already seen issues with my attorney and questionable things like filing motions to, motions to compel for evidence, but then when the prosecutor says, yes, yes, no, and you can have this, but you can't have that, we never go and argue it in court. We just say, okay, we'll take that. Then we get into this, another delay, which occurred on the exact day, which was May. So we have, in fact, the October delay, followed up by a motion to suppress evidence, which was actually filed in March, and then April, May comes along, we're supposed to go to court, and we can't go to court anymore because some excuse from Trooper Moore. Now, that raises a very, very interesting whole little sidetrack of information. But we're going to get into something really important because it goes right immediately back to this. Not found guilty of one count of contributing to delinquency of a minor. Now, let me make my point. Okay, here's my point. I don't have to convince any of you out there. I don't even have to convince a jury or the judge that this is enough evidence to throw the case out of court. Don't have to. What I do need to point to is that this is a guaranteed showing of enough circumstantial evidence to show that we need that transcript from the contributing charges when Ashley said she was coerced into lying by her cop, the prosecutor, Trooper Duckworth. See, for what most of you don't know, I spent a little bit of time doing some investigation. Now, yes, Deputy Jason Redden, who was good friends with my uncle, Thomas Keller, who claims that we're somehow related to Christine Keller, and that Christine Keller does special favors for him, who is caught on record under oath giving a complete opposite story of what's on the search warrant that originally took the computers, comes into this whole huge affair that he's best friends, or claims to be really good friends with Deputy Jason Redden. Now, that gets really interesting because when we go looking at that whole affair, Deputy Jason Redden is blood related to both Ashley Redden and Trooper Williams. Trooper Williams is Trooper Duckworth's partner and his brother-in-law. Then you want to add to that Trooper Duckworth, in a publicly stated thing in a West Virginia magazine concerning that little band of his, Taylor Made, has attended the same church as the Kirks on Scott Ridge Road. In addition to the fact that Nelson Redden Road connects directly to Scott Ridge Road off of Table Rock Road, which right there on Grandview Road, going right on down by Grandview, you hit that little loop that goes all the way around. It gets even more interesting that Trooper Duckworth lives on Brianna Lane, which is 2.8 miles from the middle of Table Rock Road. Has also attended the same church as Ashley and the others out there on Table Rock Road. Means he lives less than 3.5 miles from Ashley Redden, and probably less than, let's say, 6 or 7 miles from the Kirks. Look at the discrepancies in evidence, the inability to keep dates and facts straight, falsified FBI agents. You come into asking a question, not so much about his moral character, but simply his basic ability to do his job. Then you come into this fact of this one little document right here for Judge Hutchison, called actually a liar when she said that she was made to give false testimony by the prosecuting attorney, which was the assistant prosecuting attorney, Krissa N. Kinrod, Trooper Duckworth, and her mother, to lie on the stand. Strange how that kind of plays out, doesn't it? And then suddenly I'm not guilty of one charge for procuring delinquency of minor. The very same things that Ashley Redden are claiming in the warrant for the stalking charges and that little argument and yelling match and everything else at Walmart. So it makes you have to sit down and ask. Then, of course, there's evidence that she's running around Beckley getting jobs in locations close to me and close to my friends, trying to find me, stalk me perhaps. It keeps blaring into this huge issue of what exactly is going on. See, the fact of the matter is, apparently I've done something that scared some people. I've put enough information out there, at least through the proper channels going up the chain of command, the stuff that you guys haven't seen, those letters to Captain White and Superintendent Smithers and the governor and everything else. It's got some people worried. See, that's where all these little indiscrepancies come in at. See, these indiscrepancies don't prove anything except that there's a need for further evidence. There's a need to see what was on those computers and see that second search warrant to get a chain of custody for every little electronic device that I had, including my cell phone, my BlackBerry, including a transcript of that court hearing where Ashley said that she was coerced into giving false testimony. And then we need to look at, I don't know why Pat Lamb wants to try and sneak a motion through to put a case in front of Hutchison, who I accused of bias and corruption and wrongdoing, and who is a little bit too close to this case, having been over top of the appeal and the lawsuit against Trooper Duckworth, and is suddenly springing up into this case when I predicted it in an 8-page legal statement I gave to the West Virginia State Police at the time of my arrest. It makes you stop and think, don't it? See, there's a lot of information out here, and at a certain point, something's got to give. And Well, let me just be honest about it. There's only really two things you can do. You can lose and accept that I'm going to, well, yes, I will be petitioning the government for redress of grievance. You can give me my due process of law, put me in front of an impartial judge and give me a jury, which seems to be an odd thing, and you can try to set me up, which right now is looking an awful lot like you did there, Pat. So questions are going to be coming up. We have the evidentiary hearing coming up in June, and there's a lot of things to be asked, to be examined. You guys have a lot of information. Tiny little USB drive. But I want to start looking into it.